Captain Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes as he stared out at the endless stars from the bridge of the UES horizon. 3 months had passed since they left Earth, and the journey to Kepler 442b had been longer than anyone expected. The ship hummed quietly around him as his crew worked at their stations. Navigation Officer Pete Wilson checked their course for the 100th time that day. Communications Specialist Amy Foster monitored the empty radio channels. Everything seemed normal and peaceful. Jake thought about the 800 colonists sleeping in the lower decks, families with children, scientists excited about new discoveries, engineers ready to build humanity's first real home among the stars. Dr. Sam Rodriguez had spent weeks talking about the soil samples they would collect. Engineer Kate Sullivan could not stop drawing plans for the power stations they would build. Admiral Lisa Carter had handpicked every person on this mission. They were the best and brightest humanity had to offer. The planet they were heading to looked perfect from all the scans. Clean air that humans could breathe, fresh water in the rivers and lakes, rich soil for growing food. No signs of dangerous animals or diseases. Most importantly, no signs of intelligent life. Earth scientists had studied the planet for 2 years before approving the mission. They were certain it was safe. Jake walked over to the main display screen where the planet slowly grew larger. Blue oceans and green continents reminded him of Earth. White clouds drifted across the surface. It looked like paradise. In just 6 more hours, they would enter orbit and begin landing procedures. The colonists would wake up to see their new home for the first time. Amy Foster suddenly looked up from her station with a confused expression. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors." Jake moved to her station and looked at the display. Small dots appeared at the edge of their sensor range, moving toward them at incredible speed. "How many contacts?" 12 ships, sir." "No, wait." Amy's eyes widened as more dots appeared. 24, 36. They keep coming. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet beeping of the sensors. Pete Wilson stopped checking navigation and stared at his own screen. Security Chief Tony Adams came running onto the bridge when the alert signal started going off. "Red alert," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. His voice echoed through every deck. "All hands to stations. This is not a drill." The alien ships appeared in normal space with flashes of bright light. Jake had never seen anything like them. Long and sleek, they looked like giant metal snakes covered in glowing symbols. Each ship was easily 3 times the size of the horizon. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Incoming transmission," Amy reported. Her hands shook as she worked the controls. They are using some kind of universal translator. The main screen filled with the image of a creature that made everyone on the bridge step backward. It stood over 8 feet tall with dark green scales covering its entire body. Red eyes glowed from a face that looked like a cross between a lizard and a dragon. Sharp teeth filled its mouth when it spoke. "I am Supreme Commander Vextar of the Corvani Empire," the creature said. Its voice was deep and threatening. "You have trespassed on sacred Corvani burial grounds. Your presence here dishonors our ancestors and violates the most holy laws of our people." Jake stepped forward, trying to appear calm even though his heart was pounding. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Horizon. We mean no harm. Our scans showed no signs of intelligent life on this planet. If we have made a mistake, we apologize and are willing to discuss relocating our colony." "Supreme." Commander Vextar's red eyes seemed to glow brighter with anger. "Apologies mean nothing. You have already committed the crime. For 7,000 years, our greatest warriors have been buried on that world. Their spirits guard the sacred places where your kind now plans to build. This cannot be forgiven." More alien ships kept appearing. Jake counted over 60 vessels now surrounding them. Each one bristled with weapons that could probably destroy the horizon with a single shot. The colonists were completely defenseless. "Please, be reasonable." Jake tried again. "We can move our people to a different continent, or find another planet entirely. We don't want to fight." "There will be no negotiation," Vextar replied. "You will remove your colony ships and leave this system immediately. You have 1 hour to comply." or we will remove you by force." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Jake looked around at his crew. Tony Adams checked his weapon systems and shook his head. They had some defensive weapons, but nothing that could fight 60 alien warships. Amy Foster tried to contact Earth, but they were too far away for help to arrive in time. "Captain," Dr. Sam Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system from the colony ship. "We're picking up massive energy readings from the planet's surface. I think there might be some kind of ancient structures down there." Jake realized their situation was getting worse by the minute. Not only were they facing a hostile alien fleet, but they had apparently landed on a planet with religious significance to these creatures. Admiral Lisa Carter would expect him to protect the colonists at all costs, but how could he fight an entire alien empire? "Sir," Tony Adams said quietly, "the colony's defense grid is coming online. The automated systems are responding to the threat." Jake had almost forgotten about the experimental defense system. It was designed to protect the colony from asteroids and space debris, not alien warships. Dr. Elena Martinez had helped design the system using new technology that nobody fully understood. It was supposed to create an energy shield around the entire colony. "Can it handle this many ships?" Jake asked. Tony studied his displays. "I don't know, sir. The system was never tested against this kind of threat, but it's our only option." The alien ships began moving into attack formation. Jake could see their weapons powering up, creating bright glows along their hulls. In a few minutes, they would open fire on the defenseless colonists. "All colony ships, this is Captain Morrison," Jake announced. "Prepare for immediate evacuation procedures. Get everyone to the emergency shelters." But there was no time. The Corvani ships opened fire with beams of red energy that lit up space like deadly fireworks. The colony's shields flared to life, creating a blue dome of energy around the settlement. The alien weapons struck the shields and created brilliant explosions. Tony Adams watched his defensive systems with growing amazement. "Captain, the shields are holding. Not only that, they're getting stronger." Jake looked at the readings and could not believe what he was seeing. The defense grid was not just blocking the alien attacks. It was somehow absorbing the energy and using it to power itself. Each hit made the shields brighter and more powerful. Supreme Commander Vextar appeared on the screen again, this time looking surprised and angry. "What kind of technology is this? Our weapons should have destroyed your primitive defenses." "I honestly don't know," Jake replied. He was just as confused as the alien commander. That was when everything went wrong. The defense grid suddenly pulsed with blinding white light. The energy wave spread outward from the colony at the speed of light, washing over the alien fleet in seconds. Jake watched in horror as the lead Corvani ship simply vanished. Not destroyed or damaged, it just disappeared completely as if it had never existed. The other alien ships pulled back in panic. Jake could hear frantic communications between them in their own language. Amy Foster worked to translate their words, and what she found made everyone on the bridge go pale. "Captain," she whispered, "they're saying that Supreme Commander Vextar was on that ship. He's dead, and according to their cultural database, killing a Supreme Commander means we just declared total war on their entire species." Jake stared at the empty space where the alien ship had been. They had come here to build a peaceful colony. Instead, they had accidentally started a war with an alien empire that controlled 17 star systems. He had a feeling this was just the beginning of humanity's problems. The emergency message reached Earth 48 hours after the incident at Kepler 442b. President Richard Hayes sat in the White House Situation Room, staring at the holographic display that showed Captain Jake Morrison's tired face. The quantum communication system crackled with static from the enormous distance between Earth and the colony. "Let me understand this correctly, Captain," President Hayes said slowly. "You accidentally destroyed an alien commander's ship and now an entire alien empire has declared war on humanity." Jake nodded grimly from his position on the bridge of the horizon. "Yes, sir. The Corvani have something called a Blood Oath Protocol. When we killed Supreme Commander Vextar, we triggered their most sacred law. They believe our entire species must be destroyed to restore their honor." Admiral Frank Davis leaned forward in his chair. He was Earth's top military commander, but he had never planned for a war against aliens. How many ships are we talking about, Captain? Our long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout Corvani space, Jake replied. Conservative estimates put their total military strength at over 50,000 warships. And that's just the Corvani. Intelligence Officer Amy Foster has been monitoring alien communications. Other species are joining them. General Susan Blake spoke up from her seat at the oval table. Other species? How many others? Jake's expression grew even more grim. 12 confirmed so far, ma'am. Ancient races that haven't fought wars in centuries are mobilizing their fleets. Something about our defense technology has them terrified. President Hayes rubbed his temples. Earth's entire military consisted of fewer than 200 armed vessels, most of them designed for asteroid mining and system patrol. They were facing impossible odds against enemies they didn't understand. What exactly happened with your defense system? Admiral Davis asked. Our scientists need to understand how you destroyed that alien ship. Jake looked off screen towards someone else on his bridge. Dr. Sam Rodriguez has been studying the wreckage. The preliminary findings are disturbing. Dr. Rodriguez appeared next to Jake on the transmission. His usually calm face showed signs of stress and lack of sleep. Mr. President, we think our defense grid didn't just fire an energy weapon. Somehow it weaponized human neural patterns. The energy pulse was specifically designed to disrupt alien consciousness. What does that mean in simple terms, Doctor? General Blake asked. It means our technology is automatically creating weapons that target alien minds, Dr. Rodriguez replied. We're not just destroying their ships. We're killing them in ways that bypass all their defenses. To them, we look like a species that has mastered psychic warfare. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. President Hayes finally spoke. Are you saying our technology is naturally hostile to alien life? Not hostile, sir. Adapted. Human consciousness seems to interface with quantum-level processes in ways that make our technology exponentially more effective. When we built the defense grid, we unconsciously programmed it to protect humans by eliminating threats in the most efficient way possible. Admiral Davis studied the technical reports on his tablet. How long before their fleets reach Earth? Jake consulted with his navigation officer before answering. The fastest Corvani ships could reach our outer colonies in 6 months. Earth itself would be safe for about a year, assuming they don't have faster-than-light communication methods we don't know about. They do. Amy Foster's voice came through the speakers. I've been monitoring their quantum communication networks. The entire galaxy knows about us now. They're calling us the Death Weavers, apparently an extinct species that used similar psychic weapons millions of years ago. President Hayes stood up and walked to the window overlooking the White House lawn. Children played on the grass below, unaware that their entire species was now at war with most of the galaxy. What are our options, Admiral? Admiral Davis consulted with his staff before responding. We can try diplomacy, but based on Captain Morrison's report, the Corvani aren't interested in negotiation. We can evacuate our outer colonies and consolidate our defenses around Earth or what? We can study this technology and see if we can level the playing field. Back on Kepler 442b, engineer Kate Sullivan crawled through the wreckage of the destroyed Corvani ship. The alien vessel had materialized partially inside a hillside when the defense grid hit it. Most of the ship was buried, but enough remained, accessible for her to study their technology. This is incredible, she reported to Jake over her communication device. Their entire ship is connected to the crew's nervous systems. They don't just pilot these vessels, they become part of them. When our defense grid hit the ship, it sent feedback through their neural connections and killed everyone instantly. Jake studied the data Kate was sending back to the horizon. So we didn't just destroy their ship. We killed the crew through their own technology? Exactly. And that's not the worst part. I'm detecting quantum resonance patterns in their computer systems. Every Corvani ship in their fleet is connected through some kind of psychic network. When we killed Supreme Commander Vextar, every Corvani in their empire felt him die. Dr. Elena Martinez worked frantically in the colony's temporary laboratory, trying to understand the alien cultural databases they had captured from the destroyed ship. What she found made her blood run cold. "Jake, you need to see this immediately," she called over the communication system. Jake arrived at the laboratory to find Dr. Martinez surrounded by holographic displays showing alien text and symbols. "What did you find?" "The Corvani aren't just angry about us killing their commander. They're terrified. According to their historical records, the Death Weavers were a species that could corrupt any technology they touched. They turned peaceful civilizations into weapons of war just by existing near them." "Are you saying we're like these Death Weavers?" Dr. Martinez nodded grimly. "The similarities are too strong to ignore. The Death Weavers could interface directly with technology through their consciousness. They could make any device more efficient, more powerful, more deadly." "Sound familiar?" Jake thought about their defense grid and how it had performed far beyond its design specifications. How did the Death Weavers' story end? The entire galaxy united to destroy them. It took 1,000,000 years and cost billions of lives, but they eventually succeeded. The Death Weavers were completely eliminated, and now they think we're the same thing. Worse, the Death Weavers were openly hostile. We're apparently doing the same things they did, but we seem genuinely confused about why everyone is afraid of us. That makes us even more terrifying to them. Jake returned to the bridge to find Tony Adams studying tactical displays. The security chief looked up with a grim expression. "Captain, we've got a problem. The remaining Corvani ships have been observing us from long range. They've seen how our colonists interact with technology." "What do you mean?" "Watch this." Tony activated a recording showing engineer Kate Sullivan working on a damaged mining robot. In the video, Kate simply placed her hands on the machine and concentrated. The robot immediately began operating at twice its normal efficiency. She's not even conscious of what she's doing, but to the aliens watching, it looks like she's possessing the machine with her mind. Amy Foster looked up from her communication station with a pale face. "Captain, I've been monitoring more alien transmissions. The 12 species that joined the Corvani have grown to over 30. Ancient races that have been in hibernation for millions of years are awakening their fleets. How many ships are we looking at now?" Conservative estimates put the combined alien fleet at over 200,000 vessels. "Sir, this isn't just a war anymore. It's an extermination campaign. They want to wipe out humanity before we can spread our influence to other parts of the galaxy." Jake stared out at the stars, knowing that somewhere in that vast darkness, the largest military force in galactic history was preparing to destroy his species. Humanity had barely learned to travel between stars, and now they were facing enemies, with millions of years of experience and technology beyond their understanding. But as he watched his crew work at their stations, Jake noticed something the aliens probably didn't understand. Every human on his ship was unconsciously improving their equipment just by using it. Console displays became clearer and more intuitive. Navigation systems calculated courses faster and more accurately. Even the ship's coffee machine seemed to work better than it had when they left Earth. Maybe the aliens were right to be afraid. Maybe humanity really was something unprecedented in the galaxy. The question was whether they could survive long enough to find out what they were truly capable of. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the newly constructed command center on Luna Base, watching holographic displays show the movement of alien fleets throughout known space. 6 months had passed since the incident at Kepler 442b, and Earth's military had transformed from a small system defense force into something nobody recognized. General Paul Mitchell coordinated ground defenses from his station, while Commander Nick Taylor managed the rapidly expanding space fleet. What had started as fewer than 200 ships was now over 800 vessels. But these weren't the same ships that had patrolled Earth's system just months ago. "Status report," Admiral Carter requested as she walked between the command stations. "All outer colonies have been evacuated to fortified positions," General Mitchell reported. "We've established defensive lines at Mars, Europa, and the asteroid belt. Each position has been equipped with the new defense grids based on the Kepler design." Commander Taylor looked up from his tactical display. "The fleet is ready for the first test, Admiral. Captain Morrison has volunteered to lead the mission against the Corvani scouting force near Proxima Centauri." Admiral Carter nodded. The alien Scouts had been probing human defenses for weeks, trying to understand their capabilities. It was time to show them what humanity could do when they stopped playing defense. In the Proxima Centauri system, Jake Morrison commanded a small fleet of 12 ships, but these weren't the same vessels that had left Earth. Engineer Kate Sullivan had worked with teams across the solar system to modify every ship in ways that defied conventional understanding. The UES Horizon now bristled with weapons that had never appeared in any design manual. Mining lasers had been converted into beam weapons that could cut through the heaviest armor. Construction mechs had been transformed into combat units that moved with impossible speed and precision. Even basic maintenance tools had somehow become devastatingly effective weapons. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported Pete Wilson from the navigation station. 12 Corvani ships, heavy cruiser class. Jake studied the enemy formation on his main screen. The alien ships were beautiful in their own way, all flowing curves and glowing symbols. But he knew they were also deadly beyond anything humanity had faced before. All ships, this is Morrison. Remember what we learned in the simulations. Don't think about operating the weapons. Just think about protecting your crew and let the systems do the rest. Amy Foster monitored the alien communications as the two fleets approached each other. Captain, they're transmitting on multiple frequencies. It sounds like they're trying to understand our ship configurations. Jake wasn't surprised. The human ships probably looked completely insane to alien observers. Dr. Sam Rodriguez had discovered that human crews instinctively modified their technology in ways that improved performance, but the changes seemed random and chaotic to anyone who didn't understand human thinking. The battle began when the lead Corvani ship fired a stream of purple energy that could have vaporized a small moon. Jake's fleet scattered, but not in any pattern that military doctrine would recognize. Each ship moved according to its captain's instincts, creating an apparently random dance that somehow kept them all out of harm's way. Return fire, Jake ordered, but his crew was already moving. Tony Adams didn't aim the weapons in any traditional sense. Instead, he focused on the alien ships and simply wanted them to stop threatening his friends. The mining laser that fired from the horizon moved like it was alive, bending around obstacles and striking the Corvani vessel in exactly the right spot to disable its main engines. Across the small fleet, similar scenes played out. Captain Sarah Brooks on the UES Denver used construction mechs as fighter craft, sending them across space to physically tear apart alien weapons systems. The mechs moved like they were extensions of her own body, dodging energy blasts and finding weak points in alien armor that shouldn't have been visible to human sensors. Commander Gary Holmes on the UES Phoenix discovered that his ship's medical scanner could somehow map the internal structure of alien vessels. He used this information to guide his weapons, striking critical systems with surgical precision. The aliens found themselves losing power, life support, and navigation all at once. But the most disturbing discovery came when Jake's crew began operating captured alien technology. When Tony Adams interfaced with a damaged Corvani weapon system, it immediately began performing beyond its original specifications. The alien weapon, designed to fire once every 30 seconds, suddenly fired continuously. Energy efficiency improved by 300%. Accuracy became perfect. Captain, Amy Foster reported with amazement in her voice. I'm monitoring alien communications. They're calling us technology vampires. They think we're corrupting their equipment just by touching it. Jake watched his tactical display as the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. The Corvani ships, built by a civilization millions of years old, were being systematically disabled by converted mining equipment and construction tools. It should have been impossible. Dr. Sam Rodriguez contacted the fleet from his research station on Europa. Jake, we're monitoring your engagement through the quantum communication array. What you're doing shouldn't be possible according to known physics. What do you mean, Sam? Your ships are operating at efficiency levels that exceed their maximum design parameters. The energy signatures we're detecting suggest that human consciousness is directly interfacing with quantum-level processes in the technology. You're not just using these devices, you're fundamentally altering how they work. Jake looked around his bridge and realized that Dr. Rodriguez was right. Pete Wilson wasn't just reading navigation data. He was somehow sensing the gravitational currents between planets. Amy Foster wasn't just monitoring communications. She was intuiting the emotional states of alien crew members through their radio signals. Tony Adams wasn't aiming weapons. He was willing projectiles to find their targets. The remaining Corvani ships retreated in disorder, but not before Amy Foster intercepted their final transmissions. What she heard made everyone on the bridge go quiet. "They're reporting back to their command," she said in a whisper. "They're saying that humans don't just operate technology. We possess it. They think our consciousness can inhabit machines and make them extensions of our will." Jake realized that the aliens weren't entirely wrong. When he focused on the ship's systems, he could feel them responding to his thoughts. The Horizon wasn't just a vessel he commanded. It was becoming part of him in ways he couldn't explain. Victory at Proxima Centauri sent shockwaves through the alien coalition. Dr. Elena Martinez monitored alien communication networks from her laboratory on Kepler 442b and reported that over 50 species had now joined the war effort. But instead of confidence, she detected growing fear in their transmissions. "They're comparing detailed scans of our technology," she reported to Admiral Carter. "What they're finding doesn't make sense to them. Our ships are showing quantum signatures that shouldn't exist, energy patterns that indicate direct consciousness technology interface. They think we've mastered abilities that took the Death Weavers millions of years to develop." Admiral Carter studied the reports from the Proxima engagement. Human casualties had been 0. Alien casualties were minimal because most of their ships had been disabled rather than destroyed. But the psychological impact on the enemy was enormous. "Are we actually becoming like these Death Weavers?" she asked Dr. Martinez. "I don't think we're becoming like them. I think we always were like them. The difference is that we never realized what we were capable of until we encountered technology advanced enough to respond to our consciousness." Commander Nick Taylor coordinated the return of the victorious fleet to Earth space, but as he watched the ships approach, he noticed something that made him uncomfortable. Each vessel had changed during the battle. New systems had appeared that weren't in the original designs. Weapon configurations had evolved. Even the hull shapes looked different, as if the ships were adapting to better serve their human crews. The war was changing humanity, but humanity was also changing the very nature of technology itself. The question was whether they were evolving into something wonderful or something that the rest of the galaxy was right to fear. 1 year had passed since the first battle at Kepler 442b, and the war had changed everything about human civilization. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of what used to be called the UES Horizon, but the ship barely resembled its original design. The vessel had grown and evolved, adding new sections that seemed to appear overnight. Weapons emerged from the hull when needed, then disappeared when the threat passed. Jake's reflection stared back at him from a console that responded to his thoughts before he even touched it. The ship knew what he wanted before he knew it himself. His crew worked in perfect harmony with technology that had become extensions of their own minds and bodies. "Status report from the fleet," requested Jake, though he already sensed the information flowing through the quantum communication networks that now connected all human vessels. Commander Nick Taylor appeared on the main screen from his flagship, the UES Liberty. Behind him, the bridge bustled with activity as humans and their evolved technology worked together in ways that would have seemed like magic just a year ago. "All 73 ships are ready for the Wolf 359 engagement, Admiral Morrison," Nick reported. Jake had been promoted after his success at Proxima Centauri, but the title felt strange. He was still just a ship captain trying to protect his people. "Intel reports from Amy Foster suggest we're facing the largest alien fleet in galactic history," Nick continued. 87 different species have contributed ships. Conservative estimates put their numbers at over 12,000 vessels. Jake nodded calmly, though the odds were still impossible. 73 human ships against 12,000 alien warships should have meant certain death, but human ships were no longer bound by the same limitations as conventional technology. Dr. Elena Martinez contacted the fleet from her research station orbiting Earth. Jake, I've made contact with a species called the Kethmori. They're ancient, older than most of the species in the Coalition. Their leader, Elder Siftal, wants to speak with you before the battle. The transmission came through immediately. Elder Siftal appeared on Jake's screen as a being of pure energy, contained within a crystalline framework. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes mixed with distant thunder. Human Morrison, Elder Siftal began, we Kethmori have lived for 30 million years. We have seen the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations. Only once before have we encountered beings like your species. You mean the Death Weavers? Jake replied. Yes, they possess the same ability to merge consciousness with technology. But there was a crucial difference. The Death Weavers chose to use their gifts for conquest and destruction. You seem genuinely confused about why the galaxy fears you. Jake thought about that for a moment. We never wanted to hurt anyone. We just wanted to find a new home. That is exactly what makes you more dangerous than the Death Weavers ever were. They were predictably evil. You are unpredictably powerful. The galaxy does not know how to respond to a species that can reshape reality through pure intention, especially when that species seems unaware of its own capabilities. The conversation was interrupted by alerts from the long-range sensors. The alien coalition fleet was arriving at Wolf 359 in massive waves. Jake watched as thousands of ships emerged from hyperspace, filling the star system with vessels from dozens of different civilizations. All human ships, this is Admiral Morrison, Jake broadcast to his small fleet. Remember what we've learned. We're not fighting technology against technology. We're fighting consciousness against fear. These aliens are terrified of what we represent. Show them they have nothing to fear from humans who want peace. The battle began differently than anyone expected. Instead of immediately opening fire, Jake's fleet spread out and waited. Each human ship became a focal point for the consciousness of its crew. The vessels began to change and adapt in real time, growing new systems and capabilities as needed. Captain Sarah Brooks commanded the UES Denver, which had started the war as a simple cargo hauler. Now it moved through space like a living creature, dodging enemy fire with impossible grace. Her crew didn't operate the ship's systems. They became part of the ship itself. Commander Gary Holmes on the UES Phoenix discovered that his vessel could phase in and out of normal space-time. When alien weapons fired at his ship, it simply wasn't there anymore. But when he returned fire, his weapons struck with perfect accuracy from dimensions the aliens couldn't detect or defend against. Engineer Kate Sullivan had been transferred to the UES Prometheus, where she found that her consciousness could directly interface with the ship's quantum processors. She didn't calculate firing solutions. She simply wanted enemy weapons to stop working, and they did. Not destroyed, just peacefully deactivated. The alien fleet commanders watched in growing horror as their numerical advantage meant nothing. Human ships moved through their formations untouched, disabling weapons and engines without causing casualties. It was like fighting ghosts that could reach out and touch you whenever they wanted. Dr. Sam Rodriguez monitored the battle from Earth and provided real-time analysis to the fleet. Jake, what you're doing is rewriting the laws of physics on a local scale. Your ships are operating in quantum states that shouldn't be possible. You're not just using advanced technology, you're becoming technology. Amy Foster intercepted alien communications throughout the battle and translated them for the fleet. Admiral, they're calling this the impossible war. Their computers can't predict human ship movements because we're not following any known patterns of physics or tactics. The turning point came when Jake's consciousness expanded beyond his own ship and touched the quantum network connecting all human vessels. Suddenly, all 73 ships moved as one organism. They didn't communicate through radio or quantum entanglement. They shared thoughts and intentions directly. The alien fleet found itself facing not 73 individual ships, but a single entity with 73 bodies. When they fired at one human vessel, all the others responded instantly. When they tried to surround a human ship, it was already somewhere else. Elder Siftal contacted Jake during the height of the battle. Human Morrison, you must understand what you are becoming. The Death Weavers took millions of years to achieve this level of consciousness technology integration. Your species is doing it instinctively. What does that mean for the galaxy? Jake asked while simultaneously coordinating the movements of his entire fleet through pure thought. It means evolution, not just for your species but for all technology-using civilizations. You are showing us abilities we lost when we became dependent on our machines instead of partnering with them. The battle ended not with victory or defeat, but with understanding. The alien fleet had been completely disabled without a single casualty on either side. Human crews had reached out through quantum space and simply convinced alien technology to stop working. Not through force or destruction, but through a kind of technological empathy that none of them fully understood. Admiral Lisa Carter monitored the engagement from Earth Command and realized that humanity had crossed a threshold. They were no longer just a spacefaring species. They had become something new, beings who could interface directly with the quantum foundations of reality itself. Tony Adams reported from his position as security chief of the Horizon. Admiral Morrison, we're receiving surrender requests from over 200 alien ships, but they're not surrendering to us as enemies. They're asking to learn from us as teachers. Jake looked out at the disabled alien fleet and felt a strange mixture of triumph and responsibility. Humanity had won the war, but in doing so, they had discovered that they weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the right to help other species rediscover abilities they had forgotten over millions of years of technological dependence. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for the kind of evolution that humanity represented, or whether fear would drive them to find other ways to destroy what they couldn't understand. 6 months after the Battle of Wolf 359, Admiral Jake Morrison found himself in the most unlikely place imaginable, sitting at a negotiation table on the neutral world of Sanctuary 7. Around him sat representatives from over 300 alien species, the largest gathering in galactic history. The air hummed with translation devices working in dozens of languages. Dr. Elena Martinez sat beside Jake as humanity's chief diplomat. Across from them, Elder Siftal of the ancient Keth Mori glowed softly in his crystalline containment suit. The massive reptilian form of War Chief Kolvex represented the Corvani Empire, though his red eyes no longer burned with hatred. Let us begin with the fundamental question, Elder Siftal said, his voice creating musical tones that the translators converted into words. Are humans a threat to galactic civilization, or are they the answer to problems we have carried for millions of years? Jake looked around the enormous conference hall. Beings of every imaginable shape and size filled the space. Some breathed different gases and sat in environmental suits. Others existed as pure energy or lived in tanks of liquid. The diversity was overwhelming, but they all had one thing in common. They were all afraid of what humanity represented. Dr. Elena Martinez activated a holographic display showing the results of their latest research. Honored delegates, we believe we have discovered why humans seem so dangerous to your civilizations. The answer lies not in what we are, but in what you have lost. The display showed brain scans comparing human neural patterns to those of various alien species. Professor Gary Holmes, who had joined the peace mission as a linguistics expert, explained the findings in simple terms. Every species in this room once possessed the ability to interface directly with technology through consciousness. But as your civilizations became more advanced, you gradually lost this connection. You began to depend on technology instead of partnering with it. War Chief Kolvex leaned forward, his scales rustling. You claim that our ancestors could do what you do now? Not exactly, Dr. Elena Martinez replied. Your ancestors had the potential, but they never fully developed it. Humans are unique because we developed advanced consciousness and advanced technology at the same time. We never lost the connection because we never had it long enough to take it for granted. Jake activated another part of the display, showing footage from the recent battles. When we first encountered your fleets, we had no idea we were doing anything unusual. To us, our technology was simply responding to our needs. We didn't realize that other species couldn't do the same thing. Elder Siftal studied the data with interest. This would explain many mysteries from our ancient history. There are records of young civilizations achieving impossible feats with primitive technology, but we always assumed these were legends. They weren't legends, Professor Holmes said. They were species like humanity, using consciousness technology, integration before they lost the ability. The difference is that humans have retained this capability while developing space-age technology. A new voice joined the conversation. Fluid speaker Nithara of the aquatic deep-hold empire spoke through a water-filled communication device. If this is true, then humans are not a threat to be eliminated. They are teachers who can help us rediscover our lost abilities. Jake felt the mood in the room shifting. Fear was being replaced by curiosity and hope. But he knew the next part of the discussion would be the most difficult. There's something else we need to discuss, Jake said. The technology integration isn't just affecting humans anymore. Some of your people who have worked closely with human equipment are beginning to show similar abilities. A murmur of excitement and concern rippled through the assembly. War Chief Kolvek spoke first. Several of our engineers who studied the wreckage from Wolf 359 have reported unusual experiences. They claim to sense the emotional states of our computers. The same thing has happened to our technicians, added crystal singer Vex Thul of the silicon-based mineral collective. They are beginning to interface with our systems in ways we thought were impossible. Dr. Sam Rodriguez joined the conversation through a quantum communication link from Earth. We've been studying this phenomenon. Consciousness technology integration appears to be contagious, but only under the right conditions. Extended exposure to human-modified technology can reawaken dormant neural pathways in other species. Jake realized they had reached the crucial moment. This is why we asked for this meeting. We're not here to negotiate a peace treaty. We're here to offer partnership. Humanity can help your species rediscover abilities you lost millions of years ago. The silence that followed was deafening. 300 different species considered the implications of Jake's offer. Finally, Elder Siftal spoke. You are proposing to teach us what we once knew but forgot? Yes, Dr. Elena Martinez replied. But more than that, we're proposing to learn from you as well. Your civilizations have millions of years of experience and wisdom that humanity lacks. Together, we could achieve things that none of us could accomplish alone. To demonstrate their point, Jake activated a device that Dr. Sam Rodriguez had developed specifically for this meeting. It was a simple consciousness interface that could temporarily grant alien volunteers the same technological awareness that humans possessed naturally. Who would be willing to try? Jake asked. Elder Siftal volunteered immediately. The ancient being approached the device with curiosity rather than fear. When the interface activated, his crystalline form began to glow, brighter. Around the room, electronic systems responded to his presence in ways they never had before. Extraordinary, Elder Siftal whispered. I can feel the quantum processes underlying all technology in this room. It is like remembering a beautiful dream from childhood. One by one, other delegates tried the device. War Chief Kolvex discovered that he could sense the emotional resonance of the Corvani fleet computers. Fluid speaker Nithara found that she could communicate with aquatic systems through direct neural interface. Crystal singer Vexthul began composing digital symphonies by thinking musical thoughts at computer networks. The demonstration convinced even the most skeptical delegates. Humanity wasn't offering to dominate the galaxy. They were offering to help it evolve. President Richard Hayes appeared through holographic projection from Earth to make the formal proposal. The United Earth government proposes the establishment of the Galactic Technology Integration Institute. Humans will serve as initial instructors, helping other species rediscover their consciousness technology interface abilities. In return, we ask for your knowledge, your wisdom, and your friendship. The key vote was unanimous. Every species present agreed to the partnership. Admiral Lisa Carter coordinated the establishment of the first integration centers throughout human space. Commander Nick Taylor supervised the construction of training facilities where alien volunteers could learn to reconnect with their technology. Engineer Kate Sullivan developed specialized interfaces for different alien physiologies. Dr. Sam Rodriguez founded the Institute for Consciousness Technology Studies on Earth, where human and alien scientists worked together to understand the quantum processes that made direct neural technology interface possible. Amy Foster established the Galactic Communication Network, allowing different species to share discoveries and experiences in real time. 6 months later, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony Station, watching ships from dozens of species dock together in peace. The Corvani had become some of humanity's closest allies, with War Chief Kolvex serving as the first alien instructor at the Integration Institute. Tony Adams, now serving as head of station, security, approached with a smile. "Admiral, we just received word from the outer colonies. The first class of ethereal students has successfully achieved basic technology integration. They're reporting abilities we never imagined possible." Jake nodded, watching a group of human children play with alien youngsters in the station's recreation area. They used toys that responded to their thoughts, creating elaborate games that would have seemed like magic to their grandparents. "You know what's funny?" Jake said to Tony. "We started this whole thing because we accidentally declared war on the galaxy's most lethal species. Turns out we really were the most lethal species. Not because we wanted to hurt anyone, but because we could help everyone become more than they ever thought possible." The war that had threatened to destroy humanity had instead transformed the entire galaxy. Fear had been replaced by wonder, and conflict had given way to the greatest collaboration in galactic history. Humanity had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors but as teachers helping an ancient galaxy remember how to dream.